Welcome to Sexy Sunday, where we analyze sex scenes from films and TV shows, discuss what they tell us about the story, the characters, and more importantly, whether they're hot or not. I'm Jessica.
I'm Anushka.
And this is Sexy Sunday.
Today we're talking about Industry, a series created by Mickey Down and Conrad Kay in 2020, which follows the life of a few graduates competing for permanent position in a prestigious investment bank in London, whatever that means.
Yeah, these are a bunch of words.
He has one season so far. The second one should come out this year. And do you want to take a guess at the number of sex scenes, Jess?
Oh, 10.
10? No, that's way more than that. Well, more than that. We're on... Okay, so I've counted 18.5 because I feel like the twosome with Rob and Harper that then becomes a threesome, I was like, that doesn't really count as two, but that's kind of more than one. So I decided to give it half a point.
I would agree. I would agree with you. 18 and a half. Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, but that doesn't surprise me because it's a really sexy show.
It is a very sexy show.
There's already like some sex in it from very early on in the first episode, so you kind of know what you're getting into.
And also full frontal nudity from men in the very first episode, which I completely forgot about.
And you also see it with Seb as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
loads of penises, lots of boobs, lots of penises. It's an open bar on everyone. So should we start with Gus and Theo?
Yes.
Theo is a very classic posh, I have a girlfriend I'll probably marry and we'll have our posh babies kind of person, but he's actually clearly much more attracted by Gus than he is by his girlfriend.
Yes.
Do you think he is in love with Gus or not?
I think there's like a part of him that like is very attracted to Gus, but I think for him it's more like not so much a game, but it's, I don't know, it doesn't feel like he's in love with him. It's more like the secrecy of it, the wrongness of it. I think that fuels it, because I think you see it in his face after they have sex in the cubicle at the Christmas party, where you kind of see that regret on his face. Like that's how I read it anyway, where he's like it kind of dawns on him what he keeps doing. So I think he's definitely very conflicted, but he never makes any attempt to solidify it. Like it always just seems like a bit of fun to him.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I know what you mean about his look in the cubicle, but then that's literally followed by them two practically making out in the elevator.
True.
Which is so stupid. Like, you know,
So
the door's
stupid.
going to open, you know that your girlfriend's at the party, and you know the elevator is going straight into the party in front of everyone. Why would you be like all over each other? That makes no sense to me.
It makes no sense, but I think it's like a continuous cycle. It was bound to happen at some point. But it does seem really stupid to be like, oh, shocked, people saw us and she saw us when we were kissing blatantly in the lift.
Front of everyone.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it would have been much more realistic if when they have sex downstairs while his girlfriend is asleep upstairs, which I have to say, the sex scene is hot, but the whole situation, a big no-no for me. It's just horrible. But also, they're being so fucking loud.
They are. I was so surprised that she didn't come down to see what was happening.
Me too.
Because it was like, Gus comes in being all noisy, and the door is wide open when they go to have sex on the sofa.
It's like she must have been in a coma, because there's no way she wouldn't have been woken up by this.
100%. Although it was so hot. Their sex scenes are some of my favorite. It is the like wrongness of it, but they have such like chemistry together as well.
They do have really good chemistry, the actors, yeah. Anything else about Gus and Theo?
Let me consult my notes.
Your 3 notes.
There's more than 3 this time. Yeah, I've just put Gus and Theo so hot on the sofa.
An important note. that
And
needed to
I'm
be
not
shared.
wrong though.
You're not wrong. So Harper,
Yes.
in the first episode,
Yes.
when that Nicole client gets it on, well, tries to get it on in the taxi with Harper, what is happening there? Is it a power thing?
What is in from Nicole's?
From Nicole.
I think so. And I think because she's like, I have no idea what she does. I just know that she makes a lot of money and is high up in business. But I think she's so used to taking whatever she wants that to her, she's like, oh, this cute little graduate. Like, I want that. But do you think differently?
No, I think it is a power. Like, I think it's exactly the same as if a guy had done it, and it would be like, it's a guy trying to abuse his power, take advantage of young, innocent, doesn't know any better, will be too awkward to say no kind of thing. I thought it was interesting that they were coming from a woman.
Yes. And I like it because it's like,
too.
I think there's a lot in the show, which we'll get onto when we get onto other characters, but it's a lot on the show that is like both showing the stereotype and subverting the stereotype. It's not something you see a lot of, but it's important that we do see.
Yeah, women can be dicks too, I guess.
Yeah, we're all human after all.
We're all dickheads. Sorry, you go.
No, it's moving on from Nicole. The guy that Harper's talking to on Skype,
Todd.
I have to say, when they have sex and he's like, because he's balancing her on his knee, isn't he? So hot.
Yeah, that was really hot.
So hot.
And I'm not one to complain about sex scenes, but they were having sex for such a long time. Like, they've shown them for such a long time. And it was really hot. I wasn't annoyed at it, but for me to make a note of it, it must have been really long.
I felt that same way. I was like, I'm enjoying this, but this feels like it's going on a bit too long.
Either I missed why, or I don't think it was necessary for it to be that long. When I think the other sex scenes are more necessary. Like the one on the sofa, again, with Gus and Theo. We obviously get the gist, but I think it builds the tension of whether the girlfriend's going to come up or not. Like, I think there's a reason why we see it for quite a while. Whereas this one, I'm actually not sure why, but maybe I'm missing it. I don't know.
No, I agree with you. Like, it did feel like it was a little bit too long, because it kind of like the camera panned down so you could see what he was like, that he was balancing her on his knee. And then the camera kind of pans up again. And then it kind of lingers for a while. And like, I had this feeling that I was like, okay, I feel like I'm now an intruder.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. Maybe that was the point. I don't know. Was it to show us that she's the only one she's got actual intimacy with, and that's why we're feeling like that?
No.
There's so much backstory with Todd. I feel like it's obviously going to be very different, and the stakes are going to be completely different compared to someone like Rob or you know, the Tinder guy or whatever. But so yeah, maybe it was to show us their intimacy and make us feel uncomfortable, like we shouldn't be watching. I don't know. Also, are they having sex on Yasmin's kitchen table?
I'm not sure, because I had this feeling. I was like, are they at his place or are they at her place?
Isn't she walking him out after? And that's definitely her place.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
She's
that's
like
true.
barefoot in a t-shirt.
And like her knickers as well.
Yeah, which is totally normal in Notting Hill. So I assume it was her place. So I assume it was Yasmin's table. Yeah. Which I feel like that's a power thing from Harper. I think that's a power move to have sex on the table, because that happens after she has sex with the random guy, right?
Yes.
And Yasmin's all weird about it.
Yes.
But still, on that sex scene, we did talk a tiny bit about this when we were talking about Gossip Girl, but there is something to be said about girls pushing boys' heads down to get them to go down on them. I don't have a problem with it. If this is something everyone's into, the guy's into it, the girl's into it, this is great. But I feel like they're showing it so much on TV right now, because they're obviously reclaiming like the pushing the head down, which for so long was something guys would do to girls. And I feel like girls were very unhappy with it. And that was definitely always a thing where it's like, oh my God, guys are such dickheads doing this. I really don't like this thing where it's like, let's balance it out by acting like dickheads ourselves. It's like, no, if you don't want anyone to do this to you, why are you doing it to someone else?
Yeah, I agree, because like to do it to girls, it's just like it is that stupid power play, and it's like you're not really balancing everything out by just showing something that people dislike anyway, but just from the opposite gender. Like that does nothing. But what I will say is like I like in this show, compared to the Gossip Girl reboot, their whole like, because it's a lot of women getting pleasure in industry, it's a lot of men going down on women, and it's a lot of like female centric, but it never, like, unlike the new Gossip Girl, I don't feel like it's rammed in there. I feel like it feels very
natural. Like it happens in a natural way. Oh fuck.
How much water did you just spill on yourself?
Like it literally squirted all over me, because
it's getting so excited about all the sex scenes that it squirted on you.
Oh, that was really bad. I put the water bottle in between my legs, and because I couldn't open it with one hand, and then when I opened it, it was obviously squeezing the bottle, so all the water literally squirted all over me. This is great.
But yeah, I think also because Pierpoint, and which is the bank, and like the whole financial industry is very masculine and misogynistic, and they show that. They're not afraid to show that. And it's really great that we get to see that. But in the sex, it's like then we see like a much different perspective, but that feels genuine and feels like it fits with the characters. Like it's not Audrey being like, oh, I struggle to come like right now.
Exactly. I completely agree. I think they did it in a much better way, but I just think, and it kind of makes sense for a lot of the characters. Like these girls are very much in control, wanting power. So if it was an isolated thing, I wouldn't particularly have like made a note about them pushing boys' heads down. I don't think it's because it's something that I keep on sort of seeing recently.
Yeah.
If Yasmin was doing it to Rob, I think it would make sense because of their relationship. But I think in some, like Harper and Todd, I felt like that was not out of nowhere, but there was nothing that really indicated. Like, I don't know, I feel like there's other ways to get people to go down on you, but you know, don't know.
Well, she did sit on the guy's face.
She did sit on his face. I found that, I mean, obviously it's still like very, you don't have a choice. Maybe even less so. you might have even less of a choice. But somehow I find that less...
It's less. It is quite forceful. I don't know why that is less. I hate to use the word, but problematic.
Yeah. I don't know. Also, why does that guy, the random Tinder guy, look exactly like Yasmin's boyfriend? Like they even say it. So it was obviously on purpose. Is it like, again, is it just because the entire show is about Yasmin and Harper competing, and Harper goes for someone who looks like Yasmin's boyfriend for that reason?
Maybe.
What do you think Harper's attitude when she's having sex is telling us about her? Because I actually find it really hard to read her. Like I found it really hard to read her in real life. Well, not in real life, but in real life of the show when she's at work. And I find it quite hard to read her in bed as well. Like, I feel like obviously she wants to be in control in both situations, but not in the same way as Yasmin wants to be in control.
No, Yasmin's like a different, definitely like I feel like she's more playing out what she, not what she expects, but what she feels like she needs when because she's so scared of really confronting her feelings. It's a lot easier for Harper to just put these walls up of different men to like not lose herself in, but like just pass away the time with for a bit and feel like she's in control for a moment, or at least like has some resemblance of control. But it's you're right, it's a completely different sort of control to Yasmin.
Well, I feel like, I mean, we'll get into it when we're talking about Yasmin, but I feel like Yasmin is more obviously dominant, but it's more for show, whereas I'd say Harper
Yes.
actually is in control, but that's maybe less obvious and in your face.
Yes, yeah.
I was quite surprised in my rewatch. I'd kind of forgotten how much Harper and Rob have tension building the entire season as well. Like, I always think of Rob and Yasmin. I never really think of Rob and Harper were totally a thing from the very first episode as well.
Yes, they were. Like, that surprised me as well, because I feel like, because it's different sort of sexual tension that he has with like Yasmin and that he has with Harper.
I think with Harper, it's more like a classic, will they, won't they? Whereas with Yasmin, it's just like pure sex in your face.
Yes. It's pure attraction.
Yeah.
Pure like gameplay.
Yeah. But with Harper, it's more like, ooh, are they gonna, like, they've definitely have a moment in the toilets at the dinner party where they're like doing drugs. They definitely have a moment where you're like, are they gonna kiss? Are they not gonna kiss? But it feels like they're attracted to each other, but there's definitely a whole other thing. Like, I think they've got more of a and actually they talk a lot more than Yasmin and Rob do. I think they get each other on a friendly level as well, which makes them more of a will they, won't they in that sense.
100%. And I think also because Yasmin doesn't do drugs as much as Rob and Harper, that they like Harper's birthday, like the fact that they have that whole montage together and they sit on the same desk and like opposite each other, and when he's like helping her with her Hinge profile, like there's a lot more of, as you say, like it's a lot more of a build up of like a romantic, or at least like a friendship that turns into something sexual, which is romantic. What was I saying?
But yeah, I think can we take this opportunity to move on to Rob? Or
yes, so we do Rob and Harper and then we move on to Rob, because I know it's the prelude to the threesome which we're leaving to the but like I find Rob and Harper's like at Yasmin's house so hot. Yeah, like that scene, and Theo and Gus are like tied for hottest for me. Yeah, I wish it went on longer.
Yeah, see, that's a sex scene that I wish we'd been like, oh wow, this is going on for a while.
Yeah, because you can like really tell that they want each other. Yeah, because like when he's taking off his trousers or something, Harper's like almost gasping for him to kiss her again.
They did such a good job in this show with the sexual relationships, the sexual tension and everything, that I feel like the intimacy coordinator must have just done a really, 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 really good job of it, because there's so many small details that make it really believable.
Yes, I agree. Like, yeah.
And actually, one thing I've noticed in this show, I think it's the first time that I'm noticing in a show, but they use props to make it look like the guys are actually hard during sex scenes. Like when we'll see I think there's a couple of times where we see Rob like with Harper definitely, and like in the threesome as well. And I think there's another scene as well, I think I saw it, where we see his boxers and like girls touching his dick, and I mean, unless I was on drugs when I watched it, like unless I completely lost it, but I feel like it looks like a hot dick, which I always notice in TV shows when there's a sex scene and the guy takes his trousers off and it's like, you can tell that there's absolutely nothing happening here. And it's like, put something in there, because this would just be offensive to the girl or whoever they're having sex with. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that they've made it so that Rob looks hard.
Yeah, 100%. Like when I think the other one is when it's Harper's birthday and then they're like coming on the come down and she's like kissing his neck and then like goes to his boxers, and it really does look like he's hard. And same with the threesome. Like it's such an important detail, because obviously they can't show his like actual hard penis.
Well, I wouldn't put it past the show, but yeah.
No, I know you do see him like full nude, which is great. I also really like the scene where Yasmin has sent him the pictures of like her naked, and he's like wanking into the toilet. Oh, I know you don't like butts, but like there's like when he's like
his butt
tensing
is
his
full
butt.
of muscles as well.
It's just glorious. I don't
It's
know
just
why, but it's so hot for me.
Two things I just can't deal with is like butts and muscles.
I'll take all the butt muscles, please.
No, but obviously he does have a great body and he's really hot. But yeah, I think actually talking of extreme realism, I think one thing that wasn't very realistic was how clean that bathroom looked in the first episode. When he's like having sex with the girl, he's going down on her and everything. The bathroom looks way too clean for a nightclub toilet.
Also, why when he's going down on her is she suddenly completely naked and he has clothes on, but she's like it? I don't know. For me, I was hot. Like, it was hot, and she has great boobs.
She's got very good boobs, yeah.
Yeah, but I was just like, that is gross. Like from a hygienic perspective. I know it's obviously they're having sex.
No, but I wouldn't want to be completely naked in the club's toilet. Definitely.
No.
Oh, but was she wearing jeans?
I think so. No, yeah. She might have been.
That kind of explains it a little bit more. I mean, I'm not saying you have to take everything off, but obviously she would have had to take her trousers off. So then once you're there, yeah, I thought she was wearing a dress for some reason. So there was really no explanation. But I think that makes a bit more sense. It's just so kind of, it's interesting because that gives his character a bit more depth. And then at the same time, I think it's maybe something that it was a little bit expected, that it would have like more to him than just I do drugs and I bang girls. But like the fact that like he clearly just can't be alone, and
yes,
you know, he's just desperate for intimacy and I don't know, like probably a relationship. Like the fact that he's messaging that girl 3 times after having sex with her. I think he's actually just a desperate little boy, which is probably why he's the perfect candidate for Yasmin's needs of putting him down, because he clearly goes off on that.
Well, with I can't believe the boss man that he is on his desk. Yeah.
I have no idea to say that in English.
I prefer it when it's in a French accent. It sounds much nicer than Clement. I think Clement says like, "Did you get on with your dad or something?" And there's like an illusion that he didn't get on with his dad. So there's definitely like the home life doesn't seem the best for Rob.
You know, the last scene, I think that's the last scene we see him. Anyway, with Daria in the elevator, where she's like completely like destroying him in the elevator, being like, you're completely useless, etc. Do you feel like when they're doing the close-up on him, he looks very distraught by what she's saying? Or do you think he looks a little bit turned on?
Oh, I just picked up on distraught. I didn't pick up on the turned on, but did you pick up on any turn on?
Well, not the first time I watched it, but the second time I watched it, I was like, oh, they're staying on his face for a really long time. And I was like, probably to show us how, like, he can't, like, he's reacting badly to everything that she say. And then I was like, oh, easy. Like, not turned on, but kind of getting off, like, the idea that he's useless. And I don't know, because, I mean, obviously he gets off being treated like this by Yasmin, and like it's very different with Daya because there was no sexual undertone. But is it something, or is he getting off it with Yasmin because he's used to people like Daya telling him stuff like that in real life? Like, I don't know. I think there has to be some kind of connection that the guy who's being dominated the entire series is also the one that someone who's technically like not his boss, but you know what I mean, is like, you're completely useless, you have no brain.
I wonder.
Do you have anything else about Rob before we move on to Rob and Yasmin? To
the main event. I'd like to say that I have written "eat it" in capital letters. But I wanted to ask you what, you know, I think I can't remember if it's in the first or second episode. What do you think Yasmin's gameplay is when she kicks him out the taxi? Is it just a power move?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think clearly she's just anything she can do that will undermine him, make him think he's got a shot, and then be like, you don't have a shot. Like when he's like, oh, I could fuck anyone in here, and she's like, well, not anyone, like, or whatever. When it's like, but then gives him her knickers to,
yes,
and she's like, yeah, I'll put them on your face and wank off and send me a video or something.
Yes, I do enjoy their power play, but also that you notice that Rob is getting bored with it, or that he's like, not so much that he's getting bored with it, but that it's like when it's Harper's birthday and Yasmin tries to be sexy with the balloon. Yeah, eye roll indeed.
Yeah.
Where she's just trying too hard.
Yeah.
But he's still like kind of playing along with it. It is still sexy, but it's definitely not. It's more played up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess.
I agree. I think Yasmin is incredibly sexy. I think she's super hot. I think
Oh
her whole attitude with Rob, I'm personally very into it. But I think there's a point where it gets to be, it just gets to a point where it's like the fun is wearing off a little bit because the novelty wears off a little bit.
Yes, exactly. Because it's like, how long can you string each other along?
Yeah.
Like something has got to happen. Otherwise it just fizzles.
Yeah.
Like you can't sustain the tension forever.
Yeah. What's your favorite Rob and Yasmin moment?
Oh, I really like it when he gives her the picture of him like with his underwear on his
her
face.
underwear.
Hard underwear, sorry. What's your favorite?
My favorite is when she goes and he's on the treadmill and she just like puts the speed up and up and up and up and up, her physically exhausting him just for fun, and because she's super frustrated, which would get me to my next point, which is that's why I don't think Yasmin is dominating in the same way as Harper is. I think Harper, that's more her actual personality. I think Yasmin, it might be her personality as well, but I think she takes it out. She takes her frustrations out on people she sleeps with or is attracted to.
Yeah, definitely. She's very insecure, and I feel like because she struggles to communicate her needs because she's like quite immature as well. Like her way of taking back some sort of control is to tell these men what to do, but her way is like trying to be too direct without any thought of how like with Seb, for example, it's like without any, or even though he's a complete dickhead, it's like without any forethought of like what he wants, but it's all about her trying to get some sort of, it's for Harper it's like her dominating, it's her coming into her own and being like, this is where I thrive, whereas Yasmin, it's like, I need to take control. It's like desperation.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost.
And you see it at work as well, because Harper is like, obviously she makes herself invaluable and she's the one that does the most actual work out of all the grads. And I think they have this conversation because obviously like all Yasmin does is pretty much just getting lunches and coffees. And I think Yasmin and Harper talk about it, and Harper's like, yeah, no one's going to give you agency, you have to take it. And I think that's what Yasmin is doing with Rob, but it's not, and Seb, and like just in general, but I don't think it's coming from a place where it's like that's actually what she's like. And I think that's obvious when in the Eat It scene where she's like giving Rob a hand job, and then when he comes tells her to eat it, like when he looks at her and he's like, what? After she says that, she's like, oh, I'm sorry, is that too far? Like, I think it just proves that it's not that it's not her real personality, just because she takes into consideration what he feels. But I feel like Harper wouldn't have flinched.
Yeah.
I think it just shows how Yasmin is doing it more for show.
Yes.
Than any other reason.
Definitely. Whereas you're right. If even though Harper wouldn't do that, Harper would still be like, no, this is what I want.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You're going to do it.
I wonder if Yasmin even knows what she wants, because she's like, she's with Seb, she's cheating on him with Rob, but she's also not really getting with Rob. Like, it's like, why are you actually getting out of all of this? It's just like escapism, isn't it? And it's just because she's not very happy and she feels like she's had to fulfill this role, because obviously like she comes from this super posh family. I think she's got this kind of expectations from her parents, and she's supposed to be a certain type of person, and she just doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know what she wants, and she's just like a princess who's used to getting people to do things for her, and I guess that kind of comes into play as well with it.
Yes, exactly. And even in the bedroom, It's like she doesn't, and when she dresses up in the lingerie for Seb,
yeah.
it was like how she didn't feel like she was fully comfortable in that, where, and it's like she's just like, oh, this is what you do for your partner, this is what's sexy.
And by the way, fuck Seb for turning her down, because what a fucking idiot.
Seb.
But why does Seb not leave? Why does he not leave? Especially when that scene where him and Harper put in the Bluetooth and
why doesn't he turn it off?
I know. Why are they just listening
listening?
They're literally just listening to Rob wanking off, which is obviously what Yasmin is watching whilst wanking off. It's just like, I mean, I get that he can't necessarily know who it is, but he knows that it's Yasmin's phone. I don't understand why is Seb not like, you know what, I'm not that bothered about having sex with you, I'd rather watch porn. You're clearly kind of flirting with someone else. But is it just because of the money? Because obviously Seb, you know, is a bit of a freeloader.
A little bit. I think so, because like he gets to have this cushy little flat, and he can do whatever, like he can just lounge around, take lots of drugs, and he still has a roof over his head.
Yeah, that's true. You know what upset me though?
What?
When she starts giving him a hand job whilst wearing the rubber gloves. I was like, surely that doesn't feel good.
Surely it doesn't. Like it would feel so cold, and the friction.
That really, really upset me. Like I was watching this, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Not into it. But yeah, I think it's really interesting seeing how Yasmin's mind works, and it's obviously just her being really insecure and trying to like control everything because she doesn't feel confident that she'll get to her end if she doesn't get control. And I think you really see it at this at the company dinner when they're dancing and she gets Greg to come over just to fuck with Rob's head, but then she gets Harper to dance with him, and you know how she's pushing Harper on Greg because she can tell Harper Rob, which is such a classic move. If you're kind of friends-ish with a girl and you can tell she fancies the same boy as you're just like, oh my god, you and that guy would be so good together. Focus on him, have sex with him, go out with him, marry him, get out of the fucking way. Like that's so transparent.
Yeah. But I think that's again her like immaturity with being unable to deal with any competitiveness. Like she puts on this like front that she's like mature and she can deal with people and all of this, but in reality she's just like, she's very insecure.
Oh, she's so insecure. Did you think there was going to be a foursome with Harper and Seb and Rob and Yasmin when they're doing drugs on the bed?
A little bit, because Seb seems like he's attracted to Harper.
Oh,
like
Seb's definitely into Harper.
Yeah,
and I'd say Harper's into Seb as well. Not massively, not as much as she's into Rob, but I think that's definitely a thing. Like with her saying that she picked the Tinder guy because he looked like him, and they're like feet rubbing at that point on the bed. Like there's definitely a bit of a thing.
Yes, but I don't know. I didn't see a foursome happening.
Okay, fair enough.
But I assume you did, since you asked.
Yeah, I was like cheering for one, but yeah. So do you want to get into the threesome?
Oh yes, let's get into it. I'm part of me is sad because I wanted to see more of Rob and Harper.
I wanted to see more of all of it. I think we got robbed of on all accounts.
Yes, I agree.
Most parts are too short.
Yeah. But it did make sense for the story, for how it played out. It's just annoying because it would have been really hot. But again, it's like Yasmin taking that like dominant position and trying to orchestrate, but really, and it becomes so obvious so quickly that it's for her to get close to Rob. I good on Harper for getting pissed and being like, no, this is not okay.
Yeah. But the power that Yasmin does hold in the room when she interrupts them is quite impressive. Because they're obviously, I mean, poor Rob, because he's really been played for so long. And I mean, good on him to turn down Harper on her birthday, actually. Because,
yes.
Like, I could totally see why you would have gone for it, because he obviously does fancy Harper as well. But I think it was really good of him to be like, no, something's going on with Yasmin, etc. But then obviously I think it's totally fair enough that he was like, no, I'm going for it this time with Harper.
Yes.
But you can tell just how he must be like spent months like pursuing that girl, and then she walks in on me with another. Like, this is such a dumb way to not get with her.
What, with Yasmin?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it was bound to happen at some point, but it just, sucks that it was during like that she had to walk in on that.
Actually, it's funny because there's so much more obvious tension building with Yasmin, but when they finally get together with Harper, it's a lot hotter than when he finally gets to kiss Yasmin, where it feels a little bit flat.
Yes, 100%. Because it's Yasmin playing as someone being sexy, whereas Harper is just more in her element of who she is, and in that sexual way. And seems like she knows, because you don't really see Yasmin having sex.
No,
the whole series.
No, I don't think you see her at all. Like, I mean, is she having sex with Seb at some point? Or I feel like we always see them sort of starting to have sex and then like, no, actually.
Yeah, he goes down on her.
Yeah.
But they don't have proper sex, as in penetrative sex.
And also when he does go down on her, she's literally taking photos of him to send to Rob. Like, it's like her mind's not even in it. Like, it's all about not the performance, but it's all surface level.
Exactly. And it's like, how can I leverage this situation to make it more exciting?
It was interesting to see also. I mean, Yasmin obviously knows that Harper fancies Rob because she's not dumb, but I think it was really interesting seeing her being like, oh, it's just sex, isn't it? And just like looking at Rob being like, because I think she can kind of tell well, I mean, obviously she can tell because she saw them sucking each other's faces. I think it's so obvious at that point. Even Yasmin could tell the chemistry was off the charts.
And she just couldn't handle it and needed to wedge herself in. And I think, because I one of the questions is, who do you think Rob fancies most?
So I think he fancies most Harper, but I think he's more physically attracted to Yasmin, but I think he actually likes Harper more. Because again, with Harper, they've actually like had conversations, they get on. With he doesn't even know Yasmin. Like they share absolutely nothing. What about you?
No, I agree. Because it's I think with Yasmin, it's like this animalistic attraction, whereas with Harper, they have like a basis of friendship that they build up together.
Yeah, agreed. What do you expect to happen in season 2?
I don't know. I kind of like where they've left it as like a full, if they're going to go for like anthology style show, I really like where they've left it, but I'd be interested. I don't know
if Yasmin, Harper and Rob all come back, then what do you hope happens?
That Harper and Rob get together. What I hope doesn't happen is that they create drama for the sake of it. And it just keeps going round in circles. But I think if Harper and Rob get together, they're going to bring on another character for Yasmin. But do you think they'd try and do another threesome?
No, I doubt it. I don't know. I do think that Harper and Yasmin, like their rivalry, is kind of the heart of the show in a lot of ways. So I can't see that going away. Especially with how they left things off.
Yes.
So I think that'll be even more, like they'll get amped up. And Yasmin is obviously, for no reason whatsoever, she obviously doesn't give a shit about Rob, but I think she's just being territorial. Like in the last episode, she asks Harper, like, were you at Rob's? And Harper's like, no, I just woke up early, kind of thing. Like, I think if they start dating, that'll create a lot of tension between her and Yasmin on top of the tension that is already there.
Yes.
And I kind of wonder because I feel like Yasmin's going to take this into extremes. Like, how when she feels insecure, we see her, like, again, the thing that I really like was the treadmill. Like, she gets super, super frustrated with Kenny. And she's like, super angry at the gym, and that's when she decides to go and mess around with Rob, kind of thing. So I feel like if she feels like she's losing control, she might try and regain it by acting even more like over the top dominatrix. And I kind of wonder if Rob and Harper were together, would Yasmin be like even more after him, just to reclaim him?
Yeah, I think so, because like she, in her eyes, she saw him first, and it was like he was her plaything first. So I think, and she wouldn't, because she's quite immature, she wouldn't be able to handle the fact that someone else fancies him and is with him. So I definitely could see her like trying to get him back in some way, or like being super passive aggressive bitchy towards Harper.
Yeah, definitely. But I feel like if she was trying to like claim him back, she would that would probably inverse the role, because obviously in the first season she's got a boyfriend, and even though she's not really acting like she does have one, she kind of uses that as an excuse not to get with Rob. Whereas it'd be quite interesting seeing her like actively trying to have actual sex with him, and Rob having to say no all the time.
Yeah,
that would be the only way I'm interested in it, because I think as hot as it was in the first season, the whole Yasmin and Rob dynamic, I think we've had it and it's run its course. I think it needs to evolve if it's going to be in the second season.
I agree, because also the tension has been broken somewhat, because one, like the eat it scene and then the threesome, like they already know what it's like to be now with each other sexually in some way. So I don't think they'd be able to skillfully pick, or they even should pick it up exactly where they left off. So we'll see. I'm intrigued. I feel like they do really well at sustaining the tension, and it feels like when the will they won't they finally reach its peak, it was quite satisfying.
I feel like because a lot of people are complaining about all the sex in the show, which I'm like, people I could not be friends with. But
excuse me.
But I actually think, again, apart from that one scene with Harper and Todd, that, again, unless it was to show blah, 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 we've already said it, but I do think it was quite long. I do think all the other scenes are necessary. Like, I think they do a job. They show us things about the characters and their personalities and what they're going through. It's not just a mindless, let's see people naked for the sake of it.
Exactly.
I don't know.
That's because that's sometimes what I feel like with Skins, especially in like the mid seasons, was like there was a lot of sex.
The mid seasons are my favorite, so of course they're the ones with all the mindless sex.
But there was so many times where I was just like, is that necessary?
Yes, it is. Spoiler alert.
Well, young Jess didn't think so. Maybe in my rewatch I'll feel differently. But here it felt like, because they're in such a fast-paced environment, they're in such like a power-hungry fueled environment and such an adrenaline fueled place, that all the sex felt like it fit in.
Yeah, and I think the first time, I think it's in the first episode, it might not be, when Harper does something. I don't know what she does. She's on the phone and something goes right. And Eric, her manager, is like, this feeling, like that's the best feeling, kind of thing. And it's like, it felt like a sex scene, like just her being on the phone and the tension is building up, and then it comes to the climax. Like, I think everything is like you say, like, it's just, it parallels the sex, it parallels the drugs, it parallels all the highs that you basically get.
100%.
I really think that since intimacy coordinators became a proper thing, because obviously it's not a new job, but it is new, that pretty much every single TV show has them, and you know that they're being really valorized.
Yeah.
Is that word? Yeah.
I don't.
Anyway, they're definitely becoming more and more important, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think the sex scenes are so much more interesting. Like, because when I don't know if it's necessarily related or not, and I've not seen every single TV show or film on Earth, but obviously I feel like a lot of the time things that I would watch in, I don't know, the 2000s or something, where there wasn't an intimacy coordinator. It was very much like missionary sex, girl on top, and that would be it. I feel like we have many more acrobatics in like, and many more like positions and things going on. And I don't know, I'm trying to think of like HBO shows. Like I feel like Sex and the City, which I don't know whether they had intimacy coordinators or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't.
Yeah.
I feel like they apart from Samantha in a few episodes that were dedicated to the fact that she would do loads of positions, it was quite often very basic sex, even though sex was obviously a big thing in the show.
Yeah.
So how hot do we think the show is? 1 to 10?
10. Off the charts, even. Like an 11. Like,
wow. Calm down.
I think in comparison to the shows that we've watched so far, like, because a lot of them have not been sexy, it was such a pleasure.
I'm pretty sure I gave Fleabag a 10 last week.
Oh, well, I mean, I think we gave it a 10 for season 2 because Hot Priest. But in terms of like the sex we actually see in the show,
yeah, that's true. That's a really good point.
What about you?
Yeah, it might have to be. I'll give it a 9 just to be cool. But yeah,
just to be different.
But yeah, it is a really sexy show, and the sex scenes are actually really sexy. You know what? Who am I kidding? It's a 10. I mean, it's attractive people having good looking sex. Like it's just
exactly.
of course it's a 10. Honestly, there's so many scenes that are like so hot that I feel like they're sex scenes, even though they're not. Like even just when Yasmin and Rob have to get undressed, and she's like turn around, and they're both getting undressed. They're back to back, but there's mirrors on each side. So they still kind of see each other, and this is like sexier than most sex scenes. Do you know what I mean? Like,
10 out of 10.
Yeah, no, it is
Would watch
10,
again.
Yeah. Would definitely watch again. All right, what are we talking about next week?
You, just you, Anushka.
So yeah, talking about you, not you.
I'm excited for, because I actually I haven't seen the show yet. So it'd be nice to watch something new.
I think you'll like it. I think you'll like it. I think you'll like it because, I mean, again, it's not horror at all, but because you like horror and it's got a bit of a horror-y vibe in terms of like, that's clearly coming from someone who's never watched horror, but like a bit of a thriller-y vibe.
Yeah.
It's quite funny. And also it's really funny if you imagine that it's actually Dan Humphrey, because obviously it's the same actor.
I'm excited now. I'm more excited because I do really fancy the actor. I think he's hot.
Oh yeah, you'll like it then. I'm excited. So I'll see you next week.
See you next time or next week.